computer. Do you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, it gave me the option to continue or leave recording.
Yes, please keep recording. That's what we need to do. Here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kevin Gregg Show. I am Kevin Gregg. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth, peace to people of goodwill. Welcome to the show. This is the show that's designed to help you refresh, reflect, reinvent, reinvigorate. I don't know, just get your stuff done the way that God designed you. Super glad to have Patrick Quinn back on the show. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, guys. Hi,
How are you? That's okay. You can say, hey, guys. You can say hi to me. Patrick is back on the show. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had him on. Please take a look back at our previous episode. Patrick had reached out to me. He is a performer and actor, and he's striving and thriving. Like, he's trying to make things happen with his career. And he had reached out to me on Instagram. And last show, please, I highly recommend that you go back and take a look at it. Of course, I don't have it up in front of me, but I'll have it in the show notes for the link to it. But yeah, we talked about some of the challenges that he's facing as he's trying to do it. Part of it's, with his faith as a practicing Christian. We talked a little bit about that. And then we talked a little bit about some challenges and some things he was going to try and do. So instead of me yapping away, Patrick, how are you? What's been going on the last couple of weeks for you?
Yeah, I'm great. Pretty shortly after we had our last talk, my wife and I were going up to visit some family in Washington. And so I'm like, all right, I'm making this happen. I want to make it happen quick and start making steps forward. So as you challenged me, I immediately after the recording put together my first little demo of Belly. And
really good. By the way, for those of you that are listening, it was like a character voice, because Patrick's interested in getting involved in more voiceover stuff.
Yeah.
And pretty fun. Give us a little belly right now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, if you want some more of this, I can give you some of this right now. All right.
Okay, amazing. So he did like about a minute loop or whatever it was with a cool little character, which is great. Mm-hmm. So sorry, keep going, please.
No, yeah. So I did that right away. And then I was like, you know what? I want to keep this rolling at least while I'm home. And so I quickly put out with that message with that post on Instagram. I invited people to send me goofy pictures or a short script, and that I would make a voice for them. And I needed help practicing with my new mic. And I got a lot of responses. And so I put out somebody sent this goofy picture of a bird with really big eyes. So I wrote as condensed a script as I could.
Sure.
And I put one of those out. That was, what did I call him? Nick the bird. And I was pretty proud of that. I didn't know I could get it, but I had close to 200 words in almost 30 seconds. It was something I'd never tried before.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Amazing.
And then another one that somebody sent me is this another orc. So I need to probably branch away from that, as much as I love doing that. Maybe whatever.
Sure.
It's fine. But there's an orc with a guitar. And so I went online and got some help with a Spanish love poem, and it's a very goofy one. It's your eyes illuminate, your eyes are the lights that illuminate my trash cans, and it breaks into 4 stanzas.
It's awesome. So let me ask you about this. So how did you feel after you were getting each of these things done?
It felt amazing. And I'm doing it all with on the software side, at least. It's all doing it with my free stuff that's available to me. I think I'm using Audacity, and just the Photos app on my computer.
Well, see, and this is an interesting thing, right? Isn't it, Patrick? Like, there's so many people that I've run into over the years where you just people get stuck. Sometimes people get stuck, like, gear wise. They go, well, I have to have this, or I need to have this. And I think that sometimes people use their gear or the things that they don't have as the excuse for not doing anything. And again, I've said it to students in the past, which is like, right. Listen, I've had it too, where it's like, of course you want to put out the best quality, but I really say actually doing the thing is the more important step. I tell my students all the time, like, we are literally living in a day and age where everyone is carrying a portable movie studio in their hands. Yeah. They just are. And I have to tell this to students to say, do you realize that what you have in your hands right now, that, 30 years ago for me, I would have had to have grabbed VHS cameras. I would have had to have deck to deck, trying to edit the stuff, have to get an edit bay, and getting those choppy videotape cuts. I said, you now have something that's in your hand that you can film and edit and do everything right then and right there. There's no reason why people, and I think that that's a credit to what you just did here over the last couple of weeks, which is just like, oh, well, I want to do voiceover stuff. Then do voiceover stuff. Then like literally do it. Yeah. And the excuse can't be like, well, I need to make sure that I've got the best mic and the best. Who cares? Log the time and do the stuff, which is what you're doing. So, and the fact that it is possible, right? Like the fact of like, can I? And then next thing you know, you're just like, you're getting out of your own way and then you're just doing it. That's not to say that you're not going to make mistakes along the way. That's not to say that there's not going to be the best quality stuff that's coming out. Right. And sometimes you save those special things where you really take the time and craft those. I get it. But I think so much of it is about logging. I think that we live in this, at least this is what I have seen in some of the circles that I've been in. What I have seen in this, and I say this knowing that I have been guilty of it as well. And at times I'm continued to be guilty of it as well. That I run into so many people saying, oh man, I really want to be a filmmaker. I really want to be this. I really want to be this. And everybody spends their time daydreaming about what that would look like instead of actually doing it, And just, for me, it's what these podcast shows are all about. Of just like getting up and actually just doing something. Yes. Like logging the time and doing it. It's got to be purpose filled. It's got to be something that's heading towards something. If we're twiddling around, right? Like my longer term thing is like continuing to think to myself, how am I able to monetize this, get support stuff that's coming in, and believe me, it's not the be all end all, which is financial stuff, but there's something that happens with the financial thing. When you get a little bit, oh, sorry, you're good. You're with me. I got you.
Good. Oh, good. I can hear you now.
That's okay.
My internet connection is unstable.
Well, that was
hardwired. Okay.
That was happening for me. So no worries. It's probably, if I say this, that's it. They're booting us off. It's Spectrum. Spectrum is probably a little wacky today. Anyway.
They don't like us.
But the whole thing is this, man. It's just showing up and doing it and making sure that it is purpose filled. What am I aiming towards, So anyway. Sorry, long tangent that I had with that. But so what else? So what else has been going on for you then? So you've been doing these little things, and what else?
Yeah. So well, I mean, because it just happened to line up with when I went up to Washington, my actual production of it stopped, but I was able to continue writing a little bit while I was up in Washington. And I'm excited. I'm going to be able to start putting some more out again now that I'm back at now that I'm not supposed to be spending time with my family that I love.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good thing too.
The timing ended up working like that.
Awesome. Were you able to, last time Patrick was on, we talked a little bit about exploring different job sites or things like that. Were you able to take a look at any of that stuff like Upwork or Fiverr or anything like that to peruse?
Yeah, I was able to glance. I haven't submitted for anything yet.
Sure.
Because again, just going out of town. I didn't want to start something when I couldn't deliver on it yet. Yeah, that'll have to be on my next update to get you there.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Listen, that's all just time, right? Like I think that the biggest thing is, especially when we just start putting our stuff out there. Gosh, I dealt with this, man, so much in the beginning with the creative stuff, especially when I got into doing professional acting, and I made I made a significant amount of money doing commercials, basically in the late 90s and early 2000s. But when you and I'm a dude that grew up around this industry, and I didn't get involved in it until I was in my 20s. Like, that was just I just wasn't in the industry. I was little backstory for people that are listening. I mean, I grew up in the Hollywood area. I grew up during the 70s and 80s, and it was like dirty Los Angeles. I mean, like smog, homelessness, prostitutes. It's like 2021. But anyway, it was a nutty time back then. And are you there, Patrick? It lagged. It completely.
I'm here now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the weird part of that. Like, I mean, so I sort of made a joke, and it was just like, I looked and I just saw like you were completely still, and I went, oh, that was the worst. That went nowhere. That joke went nowhere. Okay. That's all right.
I'm sorry, it froze for a couple seconds there, and I'm like, oh, okay.
No,
I don't know if you can still see me.
Here's just what we're gonna do. It happens on this, man. I have this happen with different guests. We have it happen on your creative journey. There's nothing you can do. Like, there are things that are out of my hand. I'm hardwired into my internet, just for whatever reason it's deciding to do this today.
Yeah.
But I grew up.
I'm looking at mine. I don't know.
No, you're probably fine. Is it well? Here's a technical question. Just double check your actual Wi-Fi symbol isn't still on, because sometimes I do that. Sometimes I will hardwire, and sometimes I accidentally leave the Wi-Fi on. So
yeah, no, it says it's Ethernet at least.
Great, perfect. Then you're great. Thanks everyone for dealing with us with that. It's listen, right? It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Here's a short version of what I was going to say, what I was going to do. When I get involved in just doing performance and auditioning and stuff like that, like, even though I had been around it for a while, kind of on the outskirts, when you kind of get into the middle of it, it just feels like I'm catching up, or it feels like it's too late, or it feels like, what am I doing, or nothing will ever happen. And I remember getting my first commercial agent and just like going out on auditions and not getting anything. I had a really kind agent when I first started out, because she was just like, don't worry, like something will happen. And eventually it did, but you kind of have to get past that idea of like, okay, I've just got to put the stuff out there, right? Like realizing that there is a purpose. I think whenever you are creating and trying to put stuff out into the world, it's I'm sorry, I'm having a thought, because I'm thinking about some stuff that I'm eventually trying to point people back towards on my local site. But it's really about realizing that there's a purpose behind the creation and the putting the stuff out, right? So as an example for you, okay, I'm doing these voices. Why am I doing these voices and all this other stuff? There's a purpose behind it. I'm gathering together a portfolio so that when people are coming, it's like proof of what I do. So now people can see the different things, and then they're just not thinking of going, oh yeah, he'd be great, right? And like, again, I'd encourage you to do that stuff, like post as make a LinkedIn profile. Like, you should be doing like stuff like in the oddest places where you just go, oh, well, that's ridiculous. It's like, why? It's your business, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's literally your business. So why not show people the stuff that you do business wise, right?
I like that. Yeah.
It's a resume. the thing that was just going through my mind, which I'm going to be actually doing a series of videos. It's going to be on my locals profile, kevingregg.locals.com. And I'm saying this out loud. I'm saying this out loud so that I have a commitment.
Yeah.
One of my first videos for that will be available for supporters on locals.com will be available next week. So that's what. So if you become a supporter of mine on locals.com, you can start getting access to these specialized videos. And the video series I'm about to make on that is about it's about the decision-making process that I use when I'm coming up to a project. I discovered this for myself probably, I want to say it was probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, but I kept like, because man, and I guess I'm saying this to you, Patrick, because I have run into this so much in my life.
Mhm.
It's the shiny new bright things, right? Like I spent my entire life like running around going, oh, I should be doing this. Oh, I should be doing that. Right. And it seemed like everything that dangled in my, it was just like, oh, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a story. Buckle up. Here it comes. I remember, man, and I'm just gonna call it out because I don't care, because years have gone by. I got involved in a independent film project. This was probably in, I want to say it was probably in like the late, I want to say it was either late 90s or it was early 2000. You know what? It was late 90s because the project was about, it had all of this Y2K stuff that was in it. That was exactly what it was. Got involved in it. And kind of a cool thing. It felt like it was an all right premise. I was basically the Grim Reaper is what it was. And I was coming and I need to find somebody to replace myself. The name of the short film was Numbers Up. The name of the film was Numbers Up. And this guy that was directing was just like, it felt like it was great. It felt like it was cool. And it was supposed to be this short independent film. And I remember reading the script and I was getting offered like the lead in this thing. And the first thing that I thought when I read the script, complete transparency here, was I thought, it's okay. Like I felt like it was about 65 to 70% of where it needed to be. But the shiny thing was like, hey, you get to be the lead in this thing. And we're filming it on digital cameras and we're doing all this stuff. And I remember I spoke to my wife about it. And at the time, I had been told by the director on this project, yeah, this is the thing. We're probably going to do it over 5 or 6 weekends. And so I remember telling my wife that, like, this is it, but it's going to happen over 5 or 6 weekends. It's a great opportunity for me to be in the lead thing. I can get footage from it, blah, 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 all this stuff.
Yeah.
I could go into crazier long details on this, but I won't. The short version of this story is that 5 or 6 weekend project stretched out over 2 years. It stretched out over 2 years. Highlights from that include me losing my wedding ring at a playground sandbox where I had to like take it off for a second and put it to the side, and then just lost it in sand, like could not find it to save my life. It was gone. That's one of them. Yeah, and just like, it just kind of like kept going. I will tell you the amount of time, because I was working regularly at Disney on the weekends. I probably lost somewhere in the range of, I'm gonna honestly say somewhere in the range of about $8,000 worth of work, because of the amount of times I went, oh, okay, well, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, it was somewhere in that range, like over time.
Yeah.
I did make a fantastic friendship out of it. There was a guy that was a cinematographer who was one of the editors on it, he was actually a believer as well and became very good friends. And we still keep in contact today. And I hope that we get to work together in the future. Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have done it. And what were the two things? Number one, I had a script that I looked at and I thought, I don't know if that's great, but then I went, I'm going to go for it anyway. And then my wife said, I don't think you should do this. And then I just went, listen, I need to do it. And my wife has always been amazing in supporting me, but I didn't heed her counsel. because I was more like, no, this will be, don't worry. Right.
Yeah.
Terrible decision. That decision to work on that film, and listen, there was a couple of cool little things that I got out of it. Not worth it. Not worth it. Because
Yeah.
actually that project that I worked on lost me so much leverage in the future for other projects that I wanted to work on. Because it was like, is this another numbers up? Is this another numbers up? Right.
Yeah.
And like, you know what? Kate, my wife, she had me dead to rights because I had done it. I did this stupid thing. Such a
Yeah.
crazy project, man. And you know, and the weird thing was towards the end of that project, man, I remember we worked on this thing and it was basically like, I want to say it was like a 50-minute film. Like it wasn't like it was a short film. It was like, it basically qualified as like, it could have been like an hour-long TV thing or whatever. But I remember we got towards the end of this, and I remember the guy that had been directing us and bringing us through this entire project. He just said, hey guys, I'm finally working on the feature film version of this. And I remember looking at the other guy and I thought, what have we been doing for like the last 2 years? What has this been? Has this all just been a big experiment? So
Yeah.
anyway, I guess I felt led to sort of share that with you, Patrick, because it was like, you got to be, holy smokes, buddy. You have to be like cautious and very specific about those things that you're doing, right? To like
Yeah.
really think to yourself, is this in line with what the larger steps are, the larger goals are, or is this a distraction? Is this a distraction? Is this something that's bright and shiny and just feels like, oh, this feels cool, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I mean, you get to have those things, but is committing to that. Oh, this is a cool thing. What's the benefits that are going to come from it, right? Is there a benefit that's going to come from it that's maybe financial, but are there deficits in it that are going to be time wise or taking you away from your relationship with your wife? You know,
Yeah.
thoughts about any of that?
Oh, yeah. Well, so right off the bat, when you said shiny, oh boy, because we've talked briefly about some of my pursuits, and I love to go after tiny little skills everywhere. And I'm like, oh well, I can juggle a little bit. If I juggle more, I could use that. I'm like, oh, I can do this thing on the trampoline. I could do more of that, and then that could be my thing. And I kind of have that just going everywhere.
Can I ask you, what do you
Tendency.
think? What is it? What is that for you? Is it something else of like, oh, I want to do that? Or is it like a specific feeling that comes up for you? Or
Hmm.
what is it?
I really enjoy doing new things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess it just sort of comes from the idea of doing theater to me, and performing to me is something else that I just love doing, that I would do it even if I wasn't getting paid,
Right.
type thing,
Sure.
which I have. And so I just look at everything fun in my life and go, oh, well, I wonder if there's somebody out there that would pay me to do what I love in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I love picking up new things. I wouldn't say that I'm incredible at picking up new things, but I'm certainly not bad at it. And yeah, it's just I think it might just be that surface level. It's just fun. It's just fun for me to learn new things. And I also find that I learn things that are difficult more quickly if I am simultaneously learning something new that is fun for me. If there's something that I don't want to learn and I'm struggling to learn on my off time, if I'm doing something fun and new, otherwise, it sort of helps me grow at the same time.
Yeah, of course. No, I think that you touched on a couple of things, which I feel like it's a special, it almost feels like there's a differentiation of the types, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think number one, you said something that was very, I would do this theater even if I wasn't getting paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that I almost feel like there's 3 different categories that are here with different
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? There are the things which, you know, yeah, I do it even if I wasn't getting paid. Here's the extra little nudge.
Mm-hmm.
if something came up, there was a project that you really wanted to do, like theater wise or role wise,
Mhm.
would you be willing to pay to do it? Right. To the point of just like
Ooh.
going right to the point of like going, I need this so bad that I'm even willing to put down whatever that would be, like $1,000, right? And I'm
Yeah.
not talking about anything that's a scam or anything like that. Okay.
Right. Right.
I'm talking like in this situation, it was like, here's the idea. And again, they're all thought experiments, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is like, great. Just off the top of my head. Great. Patrick, this is it. You have the opportunity to do Hamlet. You get to do it at the Royal Shakespeare Company. We love what you're doing, everything like that.
Yeah.
You have to pay $1,000 in order to make that happen. You know what I mean? Like it was something like that where you just go, holy crap, like you're falling all over yourself to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not if, take any of those other things off the line, like, yeah, kid, you get to be an actor. Right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a thought experiment, right? The thought experiment
Yeah.
is like, it's legitimate. You get to do it, all this stuff. Hey, guess what? Like, even after you do several performances, we will make you a member of the company. We'll do all this stuff, but
Upfront.
you have to do this. This is like your
Yeah.
thing. This is your proof. Do you want, and, or it could be even something as crazy as like $10,000 where they say, we'll let you write, but it's all right.
Yeah. That's a little bit more.
That's a sting. So that's one thing, right?
Yeah.
So that's a thing. Then there's also the other category, which you talked about, which I feel it almost falls into hobbyist, right? Which
Mhm.
it's almost like, oh, I just learned this cool thing. And this is a thing where, all right, I wouldn't be spending 40 hours a week to do it. But if you told me that it was, a Saturday and I got to spend a couple hours kind of messing around and doing this, that's
Yeah.
great. Let me do
Yeah.
that. Right. But then if somebody said to you, hey, this hobbyist thing that you're doing, would you be willing to pay $10,000 to do this for a gig? And you just kind of go, oh no. That's cool. This is just a hobby. Like this is something I'm
Right.
doing and I'm really glad. And I get like a little bit of joy and pleasure out of it,
Yeah.
but I'm not willing to do that. Then there's the third category, which you brought up, which is the stuff that ends up becoming a thing that kind of like it's new information and it's hard and it's stretching you,
Mhm.
but it's like a version of like legitimate education, right? Which
Yeah.
is like for me, that's the interesting stuff about um, uh, computer graphic stuff or CG programs, where I just go,
Mm.
that's something that really, really intrigues me, and something to the point where it's almost like paying for an educated class, right?
Yeah.
Or it was coding or something like that, where you go like,
Yeah.
okay, man, this is hard, but I also know the growth and the benefit that's going to happen. This is a thing that I'm learning on a continual basis for myself
Mhm.
with producing business wise, finances, all of this stuff that I've had to learn over the years, that, there's times when you're shelling out dollars when you're going, I don't know anything about this and I need to learn more and I need to start it's literally like having a physical trainer where you're
Yeah.
going, I need to get better. I need to get stronger. I need to do this stuff. And it's going to be hard. And they're putting me out of my comfort zone, but I'm willing to throw down money here because
Yeah.
I know that this is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
So it feels as if you've almost got three different categories of things.
Mhm.
Like those things of just like going, wow, man, is this a project or a show or something like that where that I would be even willing to throw down a significant amount of money to be a part of this?
Mm.
Is what I'm doing, does it fall into the hobbyist range where it's like, oh, this is fun. This is something that I would love to do for a couple of hours. And I feel this is neat. And it puts a smile on my face and it feels really cool. But
Yeah.
if somebody asked me to put down $1,000 to do this as a gig, I'm good. I don't need to do that. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Or does it fall into the final category, which is like, hey, here's something that's really going to stretch you out of your comfort zone. But if you really learn this skill, there's a very significant chance that it's going to increase. It's just going to increase your knowledge and the stuff that you're doing,
Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating. Putting it into the three categories like that. hadn't really considered it like that. And I think you're right on.
Hey man, and listen,
Yeah.
that's just stuff that just sort of came to me off the top, just based of you talking and just like kind of going, oh, it sounds like it's these 3 different categories for yourself.
Yeah. And yeah, so for that first one of performing and having to pay to perform. Now, in the specific instance that you gave, that seems like a pretty easy yes on the $1,000. The $10,000 is like, whew, I think so still, but that's almost because with that sort of a project, if you're going to be in that famous a venue, you're getting so much exposure where it's like you're not necessarily just paying for nothing. You're paying for all. At least this is the way my brain works. I'm almost paying for the, just the exposure of people seeing and being out there, and potentially being in the company after that and stuff.
And I really need you to, I guess I also want you to pin, like, for a moment, that feeling that you had for a second, right? That's a really important feeling. And maybe I'll talk about it a little bit little later on this show, but that feeling, that reaction that you had is like, that's a really important thing to tap into. Because usually when we have that little tapping in, again, I always refer to my friend Bonnie Utley, who's amazing, but she refers to that as like, what's scare sighting to you? Is that how she puts it? It's like, it's scare-sightement, like together. It's like it's scary and excitement together, where you get a little bit scared, but it's also a little bit like thrilling. Yeah. Kind of go, right. Whenever we get those feelings that come up about certain things, I really feel like those are moments that God is saying, like, yeah, this is the part that I need you to come towards. This is the part that I'm sort of beckoning you towards.
Oh man. Yeah, that was the most recent show that my wife and I did together that required us to travel a lot. Oh boy, it was that, like, this looks like it's a good thing. It's good for our marriage. It's good for our potential futures as performers. It's going to be good financially, but we're going to be away for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And it was a great thing. Yeah.
Anything else about those other categories that we talked about? Is there any of that other stuff that resonates for you, like in terms of like the hobbyist stuff or anything like that, where maybe there's things that you pop up in your mind and you go, oh, you know what? There's actually a couple of things I'm working on right now that they kind of fall into that hobby category.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. So well, I've got a bunch of weird little skills that I'm doing. Like throwing a knot into a rope with one hand. It's just a weird little thing, but it's kind of a fun little circus trick.
Sure.
Learning tricking and some more acrobatic martial arts. It sort of is just filling time. I go to a parkour gym locally, and they've got aerial silks, and they've got a big trampoline and a foam pit and stuff. And
nice.
Yeah, I go with some of my stunt buddies, and one of my friends in particular teaches me how to do, what are some of the tornado kicks and butterflies, and I'm working on butterfly twists and stuff. And it's like, it's fun stuff that potentially could be useful in the future, but it's like really the direction I'm going, it's not probably going to be useful. It's more just fun.
Sure.
And
it's a workout, you know what I mean? Like it's a workout, and that's a good thing. So it's a fun workout.
Exactly. Yeah. And so for that one, it's that, one that's a recurring sort of, it's uncertain whether it's a benefit or a hindrance, is video games.
Okay.
And I really enjoy certain video games. Now, there's a certain level of complexity necessary in the video game and difficulty before I'll be even interested in it. So that's a little bit of a blessing and a curse there.
Sure.
And so I very much enjoy strategic video games. I don't know if you've heard of like real-time strategy video games where you got your whole campaign map and you've got your little armies and you have to think like a commander.
Right.
And those sort of video games I have found have actually directly helped me in life.
Good.
And so I see a benefit from the video game, but I also see the potential for me to put way too much time into the video game.
Sure.
And knowing when to cut it off and stop investing time in it once I've learned the lesson that is there, you know?
Yeah.
That's sort of a part of that hobby. And the way that that hobby could potentially make a lot of money is if I wanted to do, like we talked about last time, Twitch streaming,
Of course.
you know, and it's, so for me, I think I only want to keep Twitch streaming as a hobby and a background thing, and just as a way of practicing putting out a very simple level of content on a regular basis.
Well, Twitch streaming is very interesting, right? Because I heard somebody talking about this the other day. It's like it's either it's two types of people that you're usually watching when you're watching a Twitch streamer. You're either watching someone with immense skill that's playing the video, game, where you're just like kind of going, oh, this is great. I'm intrigued and I'm watching how this thing goes. Or it's somebody that's not as highly skilled, but there's such an entertainment value that comes along with it, right? That's interesting. Now I'll tell you what sparked for me, where I thought, okay, man, let's mesh both things. How interesting would it be to have one of your voice characters be be commenting as you were playing the game, right?
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah.
Right. So it's a mishmash of like going, hey guys, give me your suggestions of who you'd like me to do. And here's the thing. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to play it as this character. So what are you doing? On a couple levels, you're thinking, you're improving in the moment. It's entertaining, right? It's, you're getting to log some stuff and getting a little bit of blended content and killing two birds with one stone.
I love that.
Just a thought.
That's great. That'd also be, well, now it depends on the project, but that'd be a great way of just getting into character, just like trying to feel it and just sit in their shoes for a while.
Yes, that's exactly
a video game.
That's it. Now the big thing,
that's fun.
Yeah. Now the big thing also, of course, with video for me, and listen, you're talking to a guy who's almost 49 now. I'm 49 next week.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, buddy. I grew up. If you had told me, man, that the video game consoles would be I grew up in the entire Atari 2600 in television, ColecoVision, like that was my era, right? And it was like, I remember going over to friend's house and playing Atari 2600, and like the whole big thing that was happening, especially in the mid to late 80s, was it was all changing over to, like, you thought it was going to be home computers. Like everybody thought it was like going to be, home computers. That's where you ultimately do your video games while you're doing your other stuff.
Yeah.
If you had told me like the video game console would have continued, especially when you started getting into like the Sega systems or the Nintendos, like I didn't, and of course there was a certain thing that happened with me where I sort of like, I aged out to some extent, but I had my younger kids at the time. I had one of my kids was like playing the thing, and I would start doing it. And I remember like I would play Resident Evil, and I had this moment where like I was playing Resident Evil, and I had that moment where it was just like I was doing that, plus I was balancing kids. And I just remember the moment that happened for me that just clicked over, and I went, oh, I don't have the time for this anymore. I know certain people that Ron Howard talked about this. Ron Howard, the film director and Happy Days and everything. He talked about one of the things that he ended up having to do in exchange for in his life was going out to sporting events with his friends. Like he used to go to baseball games or basketball games or whatever, like that was his jam. And as he started having kids and raising a family, he went, oh, I really can't do that anymore. And I don't even think it's a matter of like, I can't do it anymore. It's more like, oh no, you know what? This is where the transition goes to where now it's about like hanging out and spending the time with the kids. Anyway, that's just my own junk when it comes to like video games. Cause listen, my son, Matty, he rocks it all the time. My other son, Luke, he's always doing his stuff, and I get it. And I'm very impressed. Number one, I'm always impressed with video games. I just got to a point for like decades where that was, my kids will always ask me, hey Dad, what's one thing you missed? And I said, I remember sort of that. I remember that grieving that happened for me when I had to walk away from video games.
Yeah.
Very similar to what happened to me when I was I remember I used to collect comic books, you know, when I was, 10, 11, I mean, like I was getting like the X-Men and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I remember when comic books for me went up to $1 a pop. They went up to
Ooh.
$1 a pop because when I started out, they were about 65 cents an issue. And
Ooh. So that.
in the space of about 3 years, they went from 65 cents an issue up to $1 an issue. And I remember, I think it was like Thing from the Fantastic Four. He had his own
Yeah.
spin-off thing. It was like Thing #1. I remember looking at it and it was $1 a comic. And this was at a time when I was like, there was like 10 to 13 issues like I was interested in. And it was
Yeah.
stuff that I'd be going down to the comic book store. And I remember that sad day when I got Thing #1 for $1.
Mhm.
I just thought, I can't afford to do this anymore. You know, I had to
Yeah.
make that decision
Oh.
at like 12 or 13. It was such a heartbreak. So
Yeah.
anyway, I just went off on a complete thing with that. But
You're good.
my point is how to just, I guess I just use that as a caution to just kind of go, hey, awesome with the video game stuff that you get that, but why not kill two birds with one stone with
Yes.
possibly
And use it. I love it. Yeah.
doing voices? Just a thought. Just a thought.
Yeah. At least worth trying, and like put it out there. Yeah.
I get it, man. I get it.
Yeah.
I think I want to spend a little bit. Before I do this, is there anything else that's specifically on your heart that you want to talk about, or stuff that was sort of a question that you wanted to throw out to me that maybe we can explore for a little bit? We've got about 15 minutes here before we wrap up, but
Mhm.
anything that's been sort of bubbling for you or on your heart?
Boy, off the top of my head, nothing particular really comes up. I guess I mean, the things that are coming up to my mind right now.
Sure, let's go for it.
Yeah, is just how to I mean, we talked about it a little bit before, but how to calculate those risks. Because if I was a single man still, I wouldn't worry so much. I know what I can do to pull myself up and keep moving forward if I overinvest in something or if I
Sure.
overextend. With my wife, I don't. There are risks that might still be worth taking, but just determining where the boundary is on what's worth putting potentially her on the line as well. Because I'm fine with signing myself up for suffering.
Yeah.
But signing her up for suffering is a whole different thing, and that's probably my biggest concern with diving in.
Yeah.
Worrying
No.
that I went too deep.
No, I totally get it. I think that there's a couple of things that are coming up to the top of my mind while you're talking about this. Number one, to make sure that I always think like action and proof is such a great thing. Like, what are the things that you were doing? Somebody's gonna listen to this and go, he is completely wrong. What an idiot. What is he saying? Number one, and it's a shift that happens in our mindset, right? Is like literally our wives and ultimately our family, right? They are the people that we're leaving the camp for the day, because we're going to go out and hunt. That's what we got to do. We got to go out and hunt, and we got to go do that stuff. We got to log the time. We're looking for provision. We're looking for that stuff because we want to provide for our family. Okay. So, there's an element of risk that happens with that, right? Like, you could go out there, you could get killed by the bear or whatever. Now, that's not going to happen for you when you're doing it's This is literally coming to me. This is probably the Holy Spirit that's talking to me, right?
Mhm.
So it's the idea of it's using the logical part. It's inviting God into it's about inviting God into the process, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
not going to be able to lay out the plan for you exactly. It's definitely about
Yeah.
asking for God, asking for the Holy Spirit's guidance, and really giving you that wisdom as you're doing this, because it's the difference between the guy that's going out and he's saying, I got to make sure, that I'm bringing home provision for the day. And it's a difference between the guy that says he's going out and he's trying to hunt and he's not having a good day finding anything. And maybe he decides, oh, I got a rabbit there. Maybe I can get a rabbit. Or you know what? I got a couple of hooks with me and I'm by a stream. So I'm actually going to spend a little bit of the time today. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fish and try and grab a couple of fish. It's a
Yeah.
difference between that and like going out and just saying, I'm trying to find the big game. I'm trying to find the big game that's really going to help us out for the long term, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But the sun's getting a little high and I got to take a look and I got to do a little bit of calculating here and go, okay, you know what? If I get a couple of the rabbits or if I get a couple of the fish today, that's going to provide us for the next couple of days. We're going to be okay. So let's keep
Yeah.
going. It's a difference between that, and it's a difference between the guy that starts going out and going, I'm going to get that huge elk. I'm going to find that elk today. I'm going to
No
get that
matter
huge
what,
elk
I'm
no
going
matter
for
what. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get
it.
it, right?
Yeah.
And he completely and I haven't even done hunting in my life, right?
Yeah.
But it's like he gets so myopic, right? He gets so focused on, when I get this elk, man, this is going to be the thing. This is going to take care of us for weeks. We're going to be great, right?
Mhm.
But he gets so focused on it, he's not paying attention to what's going on in the day. He's getting fuzzy, he's losing calories, he's doing all this stuff. And
Mhm.
then, you know, the evening comes and he hasn't bagged anything. And now he's got to go back, and you
Yeah.
know, wife, kids are like kind of going, what do we got? Don't worry, I'm getting that elk tomorrow. I'm getting that elk, right? Right. And so what ends up happening, right? So what ends up happening is he becomes so myopically focused on this elk. There's a couple of things that are happening. He's losing his calories, he's losing his focus, he's getting resentful, angry. He's probably even starting to get resentful that he's got to feed these other mouths. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's just getting to the point of just like going, why do I even have to do this? Why not just take it out? Right. And so in the meantime, the other guy that's been going out and he's kind of like keeping track. So what's he doing when he's going out? Yeah, he's thinking about the long-term game. It'd be awesome for him to bag an elk. He knows that if he bags a huge elk, he's got his family set for weeks, that they're not going to have to worry. But what's also happening is he's looking at the parameters of what he has and he's trying to test this stuff. But what is he doing? He's also gathering information. He's looking at tracks. He's looking at trails. He's trying to gather the larger picture. And
Mhm.
then he's also keeping in mind of like going, oh, I need to make sure if I'm not at a certain point today, I need to make
Mhm.
sure that I'm getting those things that are going to help sustain me for the long term. And
Yeah.
I'm getting it right. So that guy is going to have a better chance as composed to the guy that just goes, I'm going for this, and it's the only thing I'm going to settle for, and I'm
Yeah.
this, right? And I think it's really, I think it's a combination of that, which is, I get it, right? Like, you know what the long-term picture is, but I'm such a huge proponent of this. And I don't know everything that's happening with your home stuff, with your finances, with work stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I am such a huge proponent of what are those little things that you can do that help to bring in, even if it's just $100 a day or something that's just like, what's the little thing that I can do while while I'm trying to get that elk, while I'm trying
Yeah.
to get the big thing? What's the other thing?
Postmates.
Yeah, what are the other things I can do that I make sure that at least I'm getting this base minimum that's coming in, right?
Yeah.
Even on the days when I don't have when I don't have the bigger stuff, but what are the little things I can do that's bringing in at least $100 a day, so
Yeah.
that I'm showing my wife So I'm showing my clan, I'm showing my people to go, I get it. We're gonna get through this. And I'm just letting you know that I'm also showing up, and I'm also showing up with the little stuff every
Yeah.
day, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and so what it does is, because you're right. You're right. It's like, when I was a single guy, I could do this stuff and I could take the risk, and I know it's all on me. It's like,
Hmm.
that's not what God brought you into. That's not
Yeah.
that's not what God brought you into. And
Yeah.
the fact is, it's and really what God's doing, especially in our marriage, right, is he's bringing together two completely different types of people. He's bringing together a man and a woman who think completely differently, right?
Yes.
We think completely differently, and normally that's the deal. Normally that's why that phrase "opposites attract" work,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not even just the physiology that happens with the man and the woman. It's also the way that we think and process stuff, right?
Yeah.
Men are problem solvers. We're kind of like these guys of like, how do we fix it? How do we do this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Women come from a heart place and from a feeling place. But I always like to say, in my home, I am the head of the household and Kate is the heart of the household, you
Hmm.
know? And the fact is like, I'm out there and thinking and doing that stuff, but she has like this heart and this compassion, this empathy, and this humor and all this other stuff that it wouldn't work without her. It wouldn't work without her.
Yeah.
And so God's trying to figure out how to blend the two of us together, because what is he? He's in the middle of this, right? He's in the middle of this relationship. So, but it only works with him in the middle of it, right? And I'm saying stuff to you that I need to say to me as well, right? On a regular basis, because
That's the best kind of advice, right?
right, because I blow this all the time.
Mhm.
Get into regular prayer with your wife, because I need to get continually into regular prayer with my wife,
Yeah.
laying it all out with God. When it's about your career, when it's about that stuff, and being honest in front of your wife so that she can hear your conversation that you're having with God, right?
Mm.
And so she can, whatever she'll do to help support you in that thing. But what we really have to do as men, and I guess I'm feeling really led with this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really feeling led with this right now. We live currently in a culture that is doing something that, especially over the last 10 or 15 years. And I saw this really popping up with things like King of Queens, or a lot of these other type of shows that were out there. Even Everybody Loves Raymond had a little bit of it, even though endearing moments in these shows, right? But the one thing that kept happening, there was a series of shows that came out, comedies that would show up, it was the big oafish dumb husband. Big
Uh-huh.
dumb oafish husband with the attractive hot wife. And
Yep.
it's like, let's watch as the husband is a buffoon while the wife plays the mom nagging figure,
Yeah.
right? What an absolute toxic message for
Right?
our world. What an absolute toxic message for our world, because it basically equates um, men and husbands as little boys that are trying to get away. They're trying to get away with doing bad things with their basically hot wife slash mom, right?
Oh,
It's
yep.
so nonsensical, right? It's
Yeah.
such sorry. And I know, and I believe me, somebody's going to write, just go, what are you saying? How dare you? Kevin James is, how dare you? Right? Okay. All right, fine. But sorry, man, but culturally, wrong,
Yeah.
wrong, right? And this thing is that what we get to do in our marriages, in our families, what are we doing? We're
Yeah.
trying to move the needle forward, right? We're trying to move the needle forward to what God's vision and purpose and what his ultimate plan is for the kingdom,
Mhm.
right? What the ultimate plan is for us to getting back to him. But in the same time, he's also using us. He's using our instincts as men, husbands, fathers, right?
Mhm.
He's using the instincts of the women, wives, mothers, right? To
Mhm.
move it forward, because ultimately what's going to happen? God willing, that you guys are going to have kids, and then you guys are going to pass along all of that information, knowledge, and all that stuff, so that when they grow up, they continue to move the needle, right?
Yeah.
They continue to move it down the field. That's the goal. And so here's the thing, Patrick. You're in the middle of a beautiful, wonderful, necessary, foundational tradition. You're in the middle of this, right? As much as society wants to tear down the family, as much as society wants to turn it upside down, to do anything else, to just knock the bottom out of it and say, well, actually the family's this. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Oh,
all right, man, whatever. Great. But that's great. But let's not knock what is the most foundational thing that has helped move society forward in the last several thousand years, right? Not just family, but God, Christianity, Judeo-Christianity, all of this stuff. It's helped move everything forward.
Yeah.
So you're part of this tradition. So I guess it's not much of an answer. It's just a whole bunch of long-winded blah, blah. But basically what I'm saying, man, is do the things that are necessary in order to bring in the provision to show your wife your man. You know what I mean? Like, for lack of a better thing, right? And I have to tell this to myself too, which is, hold on a second, buddy, take a break. You're good. Take a break. You're good. All right. See, that happens too. But just do the things that you need to do to figure out what those provisions are. You're in an awesome position, right? Which is, it's amazing that your wife is able to help provide a little bit and do all that stuff. That's great. Do the things that you need to do to ultimately take that responsibility off of her, because that's what we're created for. We're ultimately created for that, to go, thank you so much, babe, for getting me through this. Thank you for getting me through this process. I want to take that burden off of you, because I have been built for this, to help do this for us, so that I can be that head of the household and do the things that are necessary for you, for our children, and to move that entire needle forward. And even if it's as simple as going out and earning $100 a day on Postmates, so be it.
Yeah.
But don't forget the other time of logging the time, creating the other stuff.
Yes.
Right. Because work begets work, brother. Work begets work. When you start doing those little things, I can't guarantee you, but I'll guarantee you.
Yeah.
The other stuff, the other opportunities are going to start coming your way. There's something attractive that starts coming off of us when we start doing this work. This is the biggest thing that's happened here over the last several months, right? You've experienced it, I've experienced it. There's a whole bunch of people, and I see this particularly in the art world, where everybody's just like, I'm on unemployment. This is amazing. I'm going to hang out here. Isn't this wonderful? It's like, well, you're actually not producing anything. Unemployment is there as a safety net to help you. And guess what the unemployment is, everybody? The unemployment is actually a big credit card that you're taking out on the next generation. You're basically borrowing money from your kids and your grandkids, and you're saying, I'm living on this. Isn't it great? No, it's not. It's not. It's not. So here's the thing, man. So a lot of people have just like hung out, and they've kind of been just like, I'm hanging out on this stuff. This is wonderful. And they've not been doing anything moving forward, right? I think that the people that are going to thrive in these next several months are the people that are getting up off their butt and are doing the little things, right? R.C. Ormond, I'm so impressed with him. He has been a dude right? He's fantastic, right? I had him on the show. He's been doing Amazon deliveries this entire time. He's been in a truck delivering things, doing stuff. That guy is an outstanding actor. Yeah. He's outstanding, but he knows what he has to do for his family. Yep. I've talked about it here on this show. I've been doing DoorDash myself. Yeah. You know, I've been getting on, logging, getting clients through Upwork, moving the needle, right? Yeah. So thinking about that thing that you can do. So that's my long-winded stuff, Patrick.
I love it. Yeah. That's great.
Unfortunately, my friend, we've got to wrap up. Any closing thoughts for yourself?
Closing thoughts for myself. I want to put the pressure on myself that I'm going to put out another 3 voices by the time I talk to you again.
Fantastic. Do you want to try and experiment with
Yeah.
this Twitch stream thing?
I do. I'm going to be away from reliable internet again.
Of course.
Which is just the timing is the worst.
That's okay.
But I should be able to, at the very least, upload things. So I do want to experiment with that. It'll probably be maybe close on 2 weeks before I'll be able to Twitch stream.
Check out this, and also I'm going to encourage you with this. Check out the Upwork stuff for the Fiverr stuff. And I know that you're traveling over the next couple of weeks, but I would say just in the back of your mind, think to yourself, and maybe by the next time that we meet, thinking about what are those things that I could do that could at least bring in $100 a day from my family when I'm not in the middle of doing a show or a project or any of those things. What are the things that I could do? And come up with maybe a few suggestions of stuff, whether it's Postmates or this or that or whatever.
Rabbits and little fish.
That's it. What are the things or rabbits and little fish that I could do that could at least try to bring in $100 a day? You know?
Yeah.
So that's it.
I
Patrick, a pleasure, buddy. I'm so glad that we're able to do this. We'll wrap up all of this stuff in a minute. I've literally got to go from you, and I got to start getting my kid ready for school stuff. So
perfect.
Anyway, here's the deal. Everybody, thank you so much for watching the show. If you have enjoyed the show, please do me a favor. Could you please like and subscribe? And more importantly, if there's something in this show that resonated with you, feel free to leave a comment. Let us know some of the thoughts that you have that we talked about here. And also share this video with other people. I'm saying it out loud, but please, you will see in my profile, you can link to my Telegram account and also to me over at kevingreggs.locals.com, where in a couple of weeks, I will be presenting little mini video instruction things about how I select doing projects. That'll be a multi-video series that will only be available for subscribers. Don't worry, it's not a lot of dough. It's nothing. But it's a way that you can definitely help the show, because there are server costs and all this other stuff that I have, which I'm hustling like everybody else, and your financial support can definitely help as we're spreading it. Patrick, a pleasure. We're going to see you in a couple of weeks. We'll be in contact here. Have a safe trip, brother. And
thank you.
To everybody else that's watching us, God bless. Onward and upward. All right.
Onward and upward.
We'll see you later. Patrick, I'm closing this all off, buddy. Love you dearly, man. We will talk later. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye now.